The very first thing I did in Fallout 4 was wander around south until I stumbled into Vault 81. And like every Fallout vault, it's hiding a dark secret. At first everything seems happy and normal, everyone's healthy and well adjusted, but once you dig deeper, you actually find out that there's a really interesting secret in this vault that I'm not going to spoil for you here, but it was a ton of fun figuring out exactly what's going on and what's going wrong in Vault 81.
So the first thing I did in Fallout 4 was some hardcore exploring, like run south as far as I can without dying exploring, which was doing pretty good until the world turned yellow and there was radiation everywhere, and I saw molten pools of radiation lava everywhere. Eventually, about 20 rad scorpions burst on the ground, chased me to this giant crater where a bunch of cultists were worshipping nuclear fallout, and we all died. Good story.
The first thing I did in Fallout 4 was set off along the south border of the world. I just want to see everything. I want to discover as much as possible. The first thing I came across that wasn't part of kind of the early storyline was a farm. And while I was exploring the farm, I kept on hearing a robotic voice going, "Whoa, man, groovy." It was a robot named Professor Goodfields, and he had been kidnapped by hippies. And he'd been turned into a passive robot that just walked around the farm doing nothing. Everybody else is dead, so I went to a terminal and I turned him into a fighting robot, to which he started saying, "Exterminate!" It's pretty funny.
The first thing I did in Fallout 4 was play about a half hour of Donkey Kong.
So the first time I played Fallout, the first thing I did was to go on the story mission. But the second time, I went in a completely different direction and saw something I hadn't seen at all the first time. I saw a giant crashed plane, which was like kind of an experimental thing with passengers in the wings. It was just full of ghouls and full of loot and just stuff I had never even seen on my first 55-hour playthrough of the entire game.
The first thing I did in Fallout was grab every single piece of junk that I could find. Now, in Fallout 3, I usually would use this to give myself a few bottle caps, but this time you use all your junk to do weapon mods, to build armor workbenches, to build beds, so it worked out really well for me.
So between Concord and Lexington, I met this merchant who was like, "Do you want to buy a Brahmin?" And of course I want to buy a Brahmin, so I bought a cow for 500 caps. But turns out it was defective and kind of dumb, because when it got back to Sanctuary, it fell off the bridge, got stuck in the river, and then drowned.
So as soon as I exited the vault, I knew what I had to do. After seeing the E3 demo, when you exit the vault and you're back in your hometown, I was just like, oh, this is me right now. Like, they played the beginning of the game. And I instantly knew I had to get dog meat. Dog meat is so important. And so I ran over to Red Rocket, I saved him from the mole rats, and now we're best friends.
The first thing I did in Fallout 4 was travel the wasteland just outside of the original settlement and find two people who were living in a tall shack. One was a guy sleeping downstairs, and one was a guy standing upstairs watching guard. I murdered both of them. They might be snitches and they might be out to kill me or steal my weapons or anything, and you can never be too safe. Now, right nearby was a woman with a two-headed cow, and she was a merchant. I killed her too, and I killed the cow because I don't know if they're snitches either. Everyone's out to get you, and you must kill everything to survive. That's why Fallout's pretty cool.